Good morning and welcome to Coffee with Casey. As you'll see, I have my team here with me this morning. Nobody could make it this morning. They all had either meetings or something. So I think what we're going to do is change the concept from Coffee with Casey to Cocktails with Casey. And if we did Cocktails with Casey, I'd pretty much have my whole team here. We'd be ready to go. So today we're going to discuss how to buy and sell, how to operate in a slower market. Now in the spring, we have a lot of activity. There's a lot of buyers out. There's a lot of sellers out. There's a lot of competition. So activity really picks up on January the 15th and doesn't slow down until June. Now we're in the tail end of a summer month, beginning of the fall month. So we're going to go over a couple things today. First, how do you know you're in a slow market? Not everyone is in a slow market, but notoriously July, August are slow months, and then they start to pick up a little bit in September and October, and will slow down again in November and December. So let's talk about how to identify first whether you're in a slow market or not. And by the way, we have an hour, so if you have a question, please don't hesitate to go into the comments section. I have my lovely assistant Julie over here monitoring the Facebook. So if you have any comments or you have any questions, just spit them out and I'd be happy to take care of them. But first, let's talk about how we know whether we're in a slow market or a fast market. So the first thing I would do is I would identify the type of property that we're at in a geographical location. I would draw a 1 mile box around it, fence around it, and identify how many competitors there are active and how many competitors are under contract. So I recently did this with one of my properties, and we had 17 houses on the market and 2 were under contract. Well, that really denotes a slow market, very few buyers out there, and there's more competition than there are buyers. So when you're looking at a market that has 15 or 20% of the homes under contract, as opposed to 50 or 60% of the homes under contract, we have a slow market. So there are ways that you adjust to that. That's one way to do it. The other way to do it is I will take a town like, let's say, Vienna, and say how many settlements did we have or how many contracts did we have in Vienna this month, and compare that to 2016, 15, 14, 13, 12. And you'll look at a pattern. And this month I looked at it, and Vienna, and last month, had 85 contracts last year, but only 59 this year. So that also tells me that we have a slow market right now. It's not busting loose. So, that adjusts our marketing strategy, that adjusts our pricing strategy, that adjusts whether they're going to put it on or take it off. It affects everything. So a seller and a realtor can't go in with their blinders on and just play business as usual real estate. It just doesn't work. You have to know and you have to understand where you are in your market. Now, a lot of times, a realtor may say, I can get you a higher price for your house. They put it on. The house isn't selling. It's not getting showings. We also want to talk about how many showings it's going to take to get that contract. And they're afraid to go back to the seller and tell them, I may have made a mistake, or I did make a mistake. We need to drop the price, or we need to take corrective action. And by letting a house sit without taking corrective action is a total detriment to the seller, and you can't let that happen. A home is going to get its maximum price in the first 30 days. So if nothing else from all these conversations we've had, I hope everybody understands that very clearly, you are going to get your best price. And I don't care whether it's a $1.8 million house or whether it's a $900,000 house or a $500,000 house. There are buyers out there. There are active buyers. They're very smart. They're not stupid. They work very hard on the internet to do their homework. So there are plenty of resources that buyers have at their disposal. And again, if you guys can remind me, I want to talk about how to use the search engines, real estate search engines, how to use that to your advantage when you're working with buyers and sellers. So we'll do that in a minute. But just so we understand that the best time to sell is in the first 30 days. So how we handle things in the first 30 days now is different than how we would handle it in the spring. All right? So here's the way we do it. Listing comes in. Very tough on pricing. We don't have any, anybody that says we're going to put it higher price so we have some wiggle room, that is 1989 thinking. Get rid of that person and get somebody that knows how to price a house. When you look at the search engines, you're going to look at Zillow, you're going to look at Realtor.com, you're going to look at HomeSnap, Trulia, and what the realtors call RPR, which is Realtor Resource or Property Resource Network or whatever. But that is another search engine optimization they can look at to estimate what the price is of this house. Basically, all of them are wrong. They are estimates that are not based on, they're based on what the box per square footage may go for, but it doesn't take into account traffic patterns, market conditions, upgrades, functionality issues that a house may or may not have. So, you know, you can't walk in and they say, well, Zillow says my house is worth $1 million. Well, your house is worth $925,000, not a penny more. So you need to be able to understand how to price a house and how to get to that price. But you really need to set the price where it should be, get it out, and then test the market. When it goes out on the market, you should see a certain number of showings, open house visitors, and then contracts. So we have it set that we know that it takes 7 showings in a week to result in a contract on one of our properties. Now, we do over $100 million worth of business. We're pretty good at this. We know how many showings it's going to take. Now, if a house is shown 15, 20 times, it doesn't have a contract, then there's something wrong there too, because now you have generated enough traffic, but the market has rejected the house. It's rejected that price for whatever reason, and that could be the traffic pattern, functionality, upgrades, or lack thereof, or market conditions. So, you know, we will give a best guess. Every house is unique. A best guess at where we feel that price should be. Send it out to the market. Then it's time to monitor. Okay. Now, monitoring is very sophisticated these days. We have showing time. In order for a realtor to show a house, and we use that our system. In order for a realtor to show a client a house, they go on to showing. They find the house in the MRAS. They schedule a showing on showing time. We see it. They see it. Everybody sees it. A seller says, yes, you can come on in. They come in, see the property. We send out feedback to get the feedback from the seller. Now, it takes 7 of those a week to generate a contract, on average. So we know that if a home is only getting 2 viewings, that we miss the price. Or 1 viewing, we miss the price. Or it goes from 7, 9 viewings, and it goes back down to 1 or 2, we know that that group that came through that should have generated a contract has decided, based on one of those 5 reasons, that it's not properly priced. So, you know, when we go at this with sellers, we say we're going to list it at a best price we think it will work at. We will monitor it closely. We'll talk to all the agents. We'll get their feedback. So what I'm describing right now is not necessarily what you have to do in the spring. Put it on, take your bids. Then it's more a function of how do you squeeze more money out of all these multiple contracts you have, how to get the highest and best offers, how to walk away with the highest best offers, how to make sure that the appraisal doesn't trip you up, how to make sure the home inspection doesn't trip you up. That's a spring functionality of working in real estate. Now it's a function of put it on where you think it is, monitor the living heck out of the traffic, talk to the agents, get the feedback, find out if one of these 5 things isn't tripping us up. If not, we're going to get a contract. So we literally will meet with sellers after 30 days and say, here's what we found. Now, every week they will get a report which says, this is how many times it was shown. This is what the comments were that came back. Now, Julie sitting over here, my lovely Julie, takes these properties and will put them on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and such. And what we do with that is we do what's called geofencing. Now, geofencing means that you take a house and try and identify who the buyers are for that house. What is their location? What is their age? What is their, is it a woman? Are there women or men? Who's more interested in this house? Do they have 3 kids or 2 kids? Do they have no kids? You know, we basically fence in that group that we think is our premier buyers, and Julie markets to them on all this social media. Now, we can also monitor that. So let me give you an example. We have a house goes on the market. we put it in and it is seen 115 times. Then Julie does, when we are getting ready for our open house and launch, she will boost that listing on Facebook, on Instagram, and the number will go from 115 to 2,500. So basically, in our group, we know if we've targeted them correctly, when we boost it to that group, we're going to see this 25 times the volume of people looking at it. Not only 25 times the volume, but people that are perfect buyers, the perfect buyer for that house. You know, they may, if we're doing a house in Gainesville, well, most people that buy a house in Gainesville are from Gainesville. They live in Gainesville. They like Gainesville. So, or Haymarket. So, you know, we may target that area. People, if you have a house in Vienna, you know you're going to have a couple coming in from Arlington, and it's on the southeast or southwest side. You know that buyer group comes from Arlington, and they're usually 30-somethings with 2 kids, looking for great elementary schools, looking for more community and less traffic. They come right down 66 and they roll. So when you're selling a house, you need to identify who are your buyers, where are they, put up a geofencing kind of marketing plan for that house, and then we can see it. So now with all this information, now we're monitoring. The monitoring looks something like this. Okay, we've listed the house. It's a great price. We're monitoring how many showings it gets. We're watching it online. We're seeing people just go through the roof on looking at it, looking at the video, going to the property. We know how many people click through. We know how long they watched the video. So Julie came to us the other day, and she's showing us that one of the videos in Vienna was seen an average of 16 seconds, which is a long time for somebody to watch video on the internet. So of the 2,500 people, the average time people are watching that video is 16 seconds. So that's a long time, but it resulted in 2 showings. So, you know, what it's telling me is that, you know, there are interested parties, but we may be priced incorrectly. We may be, you know, that 1.425 may be over the limit for these buyers. It may just push them a little too far, so they don't come look at the house. So, you know, we have to put all this together, all of this information together. We need to sit down with sellers. We need to be realistic. We need to give them reports. So, you know, the tough time right now is no time to be with A, an amateur realtor, or B, breakdown in communication because nothing is selling. I had one person walk up to me the other day and say, hey, I haven't had a showing in 3 weeks. So what are you going to do? I mean, first of all, what happened after 1 week? You didn't have a showing in 1 week. You know, the conversation begins. It's like, oh my gosh, you know, is our marketing strategy working? So here's the thing. If Julie's putting it on the internet and I see 2,500 people going through, is the marketing strategy working? Yeah, it's working, but it's not resulting in these kind of showings, or it's not resulting in contracts. So we need to sit down and we need to talk about that. But, you know, to have a listing go for 3 weeks, and the comment was, well, it's priced pretty close to where it should be. Not close, not close, not priced close, because if it was priced close, you know, there are you know, when we put houses on, we may put on 7, 8, 9, 10 a month, you know, there's going to get traffic and there's going to be contracts. If we hit that price, we're going to get traffic and we're going to get contracts. If we miss the price, we're not going to get traffic or we're not going to get contracts. So, you know, you cannot throw something on the market and just let it sit. Just can't do it. So, you know, in working in today's markets, sellers have to keep alert. They need to be realistic or take a house off the market. So, you know, we're going to talk about who should be selling in today's market, who should not be selling in today's market. Okay? So, well, we can approach that now. By the way, if anybody has a question of their own, they can just put it on the comments, shoot us a quick question, and I'll get back to you. You know, I'll get it to you as soon as I can. Julie's on the Facebook, so she can keep an eye on it. So let's talk about that now. I mean, who should be selling and who shouldn't be selling? So we're in a market right now where the Fed, I'm not an expert on financing, I'm not an expert on the Fed, I'm not an expert on interest rates, but I have been doing this for 35 years, so I do pretty much get it. The Fed has purchased a massive amount, trillions of dollars worth of bonds, which drove interest rates or kept them stable or kept them down, okay? So now they feel the economy is better, and now the Fed is going to sell off some of their inventory of bonds. They're going to reduce their inventory, which means there's going to be more supply of bonds coming on the market, and when something like that happens, prices are likely to go up. Well, prices go down, but the interest rate goes up. All right, as interest rates go up, that pushes people into the market. Now they think that I'm buying a house today at 3.75% interest, whereas next year it may be 4.75% interest. And that's not unusual that markets will move that much. I mean, in 2007, when we got into this crisis, the interest rates were at 5.5 to 5.75%, and that was on a 5-year arm. And a 5-year arm means the rate locks in for 5 years, and will adjust after that. So today, you're getting 30-year fixed at less than 4%. So the interest rates moved down, the market has adjusted and moved up, but basically I think that was more because cheaper money than more demand. So, you know, at this time, if the Fed is going to start selling their bonds, and interest rates will tend to tick up. As interest rates tick up, you're going to start seeing more people get into the market and buy now because interest rates are moving, okay? So who do I think should be selling right now? If you're thinking of selling your old house and buying a new house, and the new house is bigger than the old house, you should do that right now. And because let's say that you may get a soft price when you sell your house, but you're getting a softer price on the house that you're going to buy. So you may lose $20,000, $25,000, get that less on your sale of your home, but the bigger house is a softer market. So you could be getting $45,000, $50,000, $60,000 off that house. So, you know, I'm of the mind that in a soft market, that's when you move up. In a active market, that's when you move down. Get a premium for your house, pay a premium for the house you're going to buy, but the house you're going to buy is smaller. So you move up in soft markets, you move down in very active markets, okay? The other people that should be selling right now are people that have to. I mean, that's in your family's best interest. You just had parents pass away. You need to sell their house. You need to, you have a job change. Your lifestyle has changed. Lifestyle meaning maybe you're going to, you know, maybe you're going to go through a divorce. Maybe you're going to do this. Maybe, you know. So if you have to, and that's what your lifestyle dictates, don't be afraid of the market. There's still buyers out there. We just need to be realistic as we do this. But if you're going to make that move as a young couple and you want to move from a 500 to a 950, now is the time to do it. That is when you move up. Also, you're going to live in that $950,000 house for 20 or 30 years. So if you're going to do that, you want to do that in the lowest interest rate environment possible and lock that rate in. You don't want to be refinancing every 2, 3, 4 years. Lock that rate in as long as you can, because what's going to happen is when you retire, you're going to hope that you've paid your mortgage to zero and your house's equity is up there. And that's basically what you're going to, a lot of people use, I'm 59, that's what a lot of people are using as their nest egg. So don't fall into that thing, I'm going to refinance every 2 or 3 years. Just buy a house, get a low interest rate, pay that mortgage down as long as you can. When you retire, have a nice day, okay? Use that as your big nest egg for your family as you go on to retirement. You know, the goal of everyone should be drive your liabilities down and drive your assets up so that when it is time, you're ready. All right, so those are the people that should be moving up, okay? Now, the other people that should be moving in a market like this are people that are renting and are considering buying a house, all right? So you want to, if you're just a buyer and you're not a seller, then you want to be in this market. You want to get in at the $400,000, $500,000, $600,000, $750,000 price level. This is a time to make a move, because now, instead of having 4 or 5 contracts to compete with, now you are by yourself and you're all alone. And so, you know, that brings us to, if I'm going to buy a house, what do I look for? Well, in the spring, usually look for houses that just came on the market, well-priced, perfect houses. They go very fast. But I would just say, if I was a buyer, a lot of realtors, what's the matter? Is it going to explode? Oh, okay. That was somebody calling to ask me a question on the air. So anyways, when you're buying a house, and we have 5 buyer agents that work on our team, it is very important to know, first of all, you're looking for the house you want. Forget about the price. Forget about what the list price is. Don't even, forget about it. If you find the house you really want, and I'm just going to tell you a quick story. This is a story I tell all my buyers, that when my relatives from England came into town, we had to go to Ocean City. I had to pay for hotel rooms, so I was not going to get expensive hotel rooms. So I went to whatever, Hotel A, and it was a flea bag. So I decided I'm not spending the night in that hotel. So we went to another hotel, a little more expensive. Definitely not spending the night in that hotel either. So we looked at 3 or 4 and finally got to the Sheraton, and I figured I'm just going to have to pay for the rooms at the Sheraton because I'm unwilling to live in anything less than something like that, okay? So I tell you that story because every buyer needs to find out their Sheraton. What's your Sheraton? Don't buy junk. Don't buy a house in an area that you know you're going to move in a year or 2. Find something that you're going to feel comfortable in, and then you can figure out how we can work on the price and work on the finance and get you in that house. When push comes to shove, life is short. You want to live where you want to live. You want to have what you want to have. You want to be proud of what you've owned, because if you're not proud of what you own, you will move in 2 years, and then the cost of moving is expensive. So that could be 5 to 7%. So let's not make a mistake and say I'm going to buy this because this is and then we'll move up later. Well, try and get that house that you're really looking for. Now, don't be intimidated by pricing. So let's talk about when we go in to buy a house. I would say as many as 60% of the homes out there are overpriced, considerably overpriced. So, if you're looking for a house and you're in the $725 or $740 price range, then don't not look at $800,000 houses. They may just be $75,000 overpriced. So when I go out with a buyer, and what we talk about in our buyer seminars all the time is, look for the houses that are on the market for 4, 5, 6 months. They've tried that market. They know that price isn't going to work, okay? They know their house is basically overpriced, and now they're getting a little desperate to sell. So when the contract comes in at a realistic price, now they're willing to consider it. So let's talk realistic price. So let's say we're looking at $725 is the price that this house is worth, and it's listed for $800,000. Okay, so a lot of people are not don't have the courage to put in a contract at $725, which is actually what it's worth. They'll just walk away. So here's my theory: put in the $725, but prove it's worth $725. Now let's go back to the search optimization engines. So, and I'm talking about things like Zestimates. Truly has estimates too. Realtor.com has estimates. All of these different sites have estimates. Now they could be off by as much as $100,000 on a house. So I just did one, and it was anywhere from $925,000 to $1,075,000. So that's a big change. So let's say Zillow is at $925,000, and this one's at $1,075,000. Okay. Well, which one do you think I'm going to show the seller when I present a contract on this house? Which one do you think I'm going to show the seller? The $925,000. I'll come in. I know the house is worth $960,000, $970,000. Here's our offer at $925,000. Why? Here's the Zillow estimate. Zillow says your house is worth $925,000. Now, you got a husband and a wife in most cases sitting here. One is trying to be unrealistic about pricing. The other is telling them, hey, just because the price is here, don't think that both people are in agreement that this is the value of the house. Usually one of them is saying, let's sell it at a realistic price, and the other one's trying to jack the price. So you walk in and go, look, this house is worth $925,000. Here's the Zillow estimate. I know that's low. Everybody knows it's low, but that's what Zillow says. So that is authenticating to them that you're not lowballing them. You don't want to make them angry. All I'm doing is saying I don't want to pay more than it's worth, and Zillow says it's worth. That's the biggest engine going. Zillow says it's worth $925,000. That's what it's worth. And hold your guns. So that's one way of doing it. The next way of doing it is to actually, we do pricing models. Like let's say Leslie over here wants to buy a house. And Leslie says, you know, she's working with Colby or she's working with Pam, and she goes, I found the house I love. I love this house. What's it worth? Fine. The same process we go through when we price our listings, we do that for buyers too. So we can tell you within $3,000 or $4,000 based on upgrades and all the rest of that, you know, the traffic and the market conditions, blah, 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 what that house should go for. So when you walk in, we don't walk in and say, we'll give you $925. We say, we'll give you $925 because here's what it's worth and we'll prove it to you. It's only worth $278 per square foot, and here's our pricing model. It's only worth 107% of its assessed value because that's what all your neighbors are selling at. You know, when you combine those two, it comes out to $925,000. That's what your house is worth. So what we're trying to do is we're trying to get it for the lower price because they've overpriced it. They've chased off all our competitors. All the other buyers have walked away, and the smart buyer walks in and goes, I'll tell you what, I'll give you what it's worth. It's worth $925, and here's how. Now, you're either going in with if it's worth $960, but Zillow says $925, we'll use that. If not, if it really is worth $925, we'll do a pricing model. We'll make it look very pretty, and it goes in and says, here it is. Here's our comparables. Here's our price per square foot. Here's our percentage of assessment. Here's the index. The index says this is what you're worth. So that's what we do. So if you are thinking about buying, then now is the time you want to get in and buy. Lock in the interest rates now that they're low, okay, and make your move in that kind of a market. All right, so sellers need to be more realistic when they go in with their pricing. And by that, let's talk about that too. A buyer walks in and he says, I'll give you $925, and we're asking $975. A buyer truly does not want to pay more than a house is worth. And Zillow says it's worth $925, okay? So it is our job as the listing agent to prove to the buyer. Now everybody's got to listen up on this. This is why you hire listing agents, and this is why you hire good listing agents. So Zillow says your house is worth $925, and I can prove 4 different ways through growth charts, through price per square foot, through percentage of assessments, through indexes. I could throw 4 different ways why it's worth what it's worth. So they come in and say, I'll give you $925. So it's our job to prove that that house is worth $975,000. And that's what we get paid for. And to say, you know, to not be an expert on pricing, then the buyer may subsequently take $925, $935, or $940, or just pull their house off the market and say, that's not enough money, I want to pull my house off the market. So in a good market, 25% of the homes will be pulled off the market unsold. In a bad market, 45% of the homes will be pulled off the market because they did not sell, which means that you got a job in California, you need to sell your house, you tried it and you couldn't do it. Now the damage of a withdrawn listing can cost tens of thousands of dollars. So you tried a number, it didn't work. Now you start getting desperate. Now you're dropping, now you're dropping, now you're dropping. Well, the buyers are waiting for you to keep dropping. And you're basically negotiating against yourself sometimes. So, you know, a price decrease should happen within 30 days. It should be significant. It should capture the new market with a brand new marketing plan and everything going out and boosting and all the people looking at it. And then you need to work your tail off to get that thing sold within the next 30 days. So the longer it goes on, the worse this is going to get, okay? So, you know, I guess if I had to say a buzzword for a slow market is you need to be realistic, you need to be very attentive, you need to be, you need to move. It's like, what's Sundance Kid? Sundance Kid said, go ahead and shoot this guy through the dollar out. He took an aim at it and missed it. And he goes, can I move? And the guy said, what? He goes, can I move? And he moved and he blew it up about four or five different times. And he said, I'm much better when I move. Well, in this market, you need to move. You can't be, you know, the sellers do not have the leverage. The sellers are not in the leverage position when you're in a buyer's market. So you need to adjust and you need to put yourself in a leverage position. So let's say let's take one listing at 1.425 million, you may not be, and let me talk about thresholds, remind me about that. 1.425 million, then I may not have a lot of buyers, so the buyers are going to be in a leveraged position. At 1,375, there's going to be a fight at the bat rack. And this may cause 2 or 3 buyers to come in and make their move on that property. Then the seller is put in the leverage position. That's the way they can get their best price, their best terms, best home inspection, best appraisal contingencies, all the rest of that, okay? So what was I just said, Julie? What was I going to? Huh? Thresholds. Thresholds. Okay. Let's talk about pricing and thresholds for a second. So we have a house in Herndon for, let's say, $1.25 million. And it's worth it, absolutely worth it. But in Herndon, you may, every threshold, every $100,000 you go up, and this is consistent everywhere, not just Herndon, every $100,000 you go up, you lose half the market. So if 65 people are buying between 700 and 800, 42 are buying between the 800 and 900. And then 26 are buying between the 900 and a million, and as it goes on, it goes on. And then you find out that you get to a price range that you're in, and there are no buyers in that price range. So the buyer pool goes down with everything you do. So somebody came to me and said, well, I have a house on the market, and its value is $1,020,000. $1,020,000. So the difference between being over $1 million and under $1 million is a massive amount of buyers, just a massive amount of buyers. So you need to make sure that when you're listing a house whether you're a realtor, which hopefully I'm talking to some Samson realtors, or a buyer, a seller, you need to make sure you're cognizant that if I'm sitting at $925, I sure as hell better be worth $925, or I should be sitting at $895. By moving it underneath a major threshold, you've doubled your market. You'll still have the market you would have had over 900, but now you've doubled that market underneath. So basically, you have 3 times the market if you were to go at 795 than you would at 825. You got to think about that, okay? So if I think you're worth 835, we'll go off at 825. We'll get a multiple buyers. We'll have leverage position for the seller, and we'll get our 835, 840, 845. But if I think you're at 810, we're basically going to 795. That's my recommendation. Now, not everybody takes our recommendation. It's just why we do have kickouts like everybody else. But I will strongly recommend 795. Okay, that is what will give you. That'll push you over that threshold. That'll give you multiple buyers. That gives you additional thing. And here's the most important thing, and we're going through this right now. When you have multiple buyers, the price will go over not only the list price, but the price is going to go over the appraised value of the house. So let's take the example of a house that appraises for $810. We put on for $795. We got $835 for the house. It's only going to appraise for $810. So if it appraises for $810 under normal circumstances, what's the max amount of money the seller's going to get? $810. But if we ask $795, and in the contract we say the house only needs to appraise for its list price, not its sales price, but its list price, which is $795. So multiple buyers come in, person bids it up. You said $835, we said $795, so we're going to appraise at $795. Show me the other $30,000 you have. And this happened many, many times. We had almost 70 houses sell in the first weekend under this kind of scenario this in the past 12 months. So this happens all the time. Person says, wait a minute, I want to appraise for my sales price. Like, nope, list price. If not, I'll go to contract number 2 or contract number 3 or contract number 4. So we go ahead and accept the contract, and it's based on the appraisal must come in at the list price. It appraises for $810. They offered $825 or $835. We get the $835. So the seller, in fact, just got $15,000 to $25,000 over the appraised value of the home. That's getting maximum money. But it's not just getting it in the contract. It's keeping it through the contract. So if you do it right, you stay in a leveraged position, then, then you get the extra money. Now, does that happen more in a spring market or in a fall market? It happens more in the spring market. However, I mean, we have a house that's been seen now 22 times and should have 3 or 4 contracts coming in, and that means a bidding situation is going on. So when you monitor it, let's say if I get 22 buyers, I should have 3 or 4 contracts. If I don't, I screwed up on the price, and we're overpriced. Everybody came through. Julie did her job. She got plenty of people through the house, but everybody came in and just rejected based on upgrades, functionality, condition, traffic patterns, or market conditions. So, that is also an indicator that we just missed the price. So we need to be diligent in a market like this. We can't just walk away, and we can't say, this is an opportunity for some, move up buyers, move up sellers, selling at 5, 6, moving up to 8, 9, 10 million. That's an opportunity for them. It's an opportunity for buyers to get out and get their house. There's still plenty of inventory. Find it. Interest rates are low. Interest rates are going to start moving up. Now, no guarantee, and who knows what the heck's going on. But all I know is if the Fed's going to start dumping billions and billions and billions of dollars worth of, I think they bought $3.5 trillion. If hundreds of billions of dollars of bonds are going to come back on the market, then that is going to make prices go down and interest rates go up. So I would be cognizant of that. You want to move towards that, okay? So hopefully that helps. How to work in a slow market, how to take advantage of a slow market, how not to get burned in a slow market, how not to put your house on the, for some, just imagine you're going to put your house on the market. And you do all this work, because it is hard. It's hard work putting a house in condition where it needs to be sold. And then you put it on. And then either nobody comes or everybody comes and nobody buys. It really is frustrating. It takes, here's what it takes. It takes the 3 things that all of us only have a limited supply of. We only have a limited supply of time, energy, and money. We all just have a limited supply, and we don't have the energy or the time or the money to go through a thing where it takes all this time to get ready. It takes all this energy to prepare your house. I spent money to fix it up, and if I price it wrong, I'm going to lose $20,000, $40,000, $50,000, $60,000. This is not for your neighbor to list your house. This is not for an amateur person to list a house. This is not for a FSBO to list a house. People need to have professional agents in. And if you live in Maryland or you live in Pennsylvania or you have relatives that are selling a house somewhere, call us. We will find an agent in their area that knows what they're talking about, knows how to price houses, has a great track record, has the right marketing program, knows how to do social media, knows how to report to sellers. So don't let your mother in. I had one friend of mine, and I stayed out of it. They had their condo on the market for 3 years. I mean, that's unacceptable. You need to find the right people that can put it on and get it done, because houses aren't meant to stay on the market that long, okay? So if you do need some help finding someone like that, give us a call. In this area, we may be the right people, or we may not be the right people. And if we're not, we'll find you somebody who is. If you go over into D.C., Maryland, or something like that, we've got plenty of people we can. And to be honest with you, we're going to interview them a lot tougher than you are. We're going to call them up, and we're going to ask questions that you don't even that you wouldn't even think to ask somebody. Okay? I do want to know what their track record. I want to know how many withdrawals they have. I want to know the percentage of listing sales per withdrawal. I want to know days on market of your listings. I want to know what your marketing strategy is. What's your social media? What's your contract negotiations? Do you accept escalation clauses versus highest and best offer clause? Now, let me just explain that real quick. Sorry, I got a lot of phones beeping in here. Let me explain just this before I leave you. And I know this is a lot for a morning and a coffee with Casey. But when we're interviewing agents, I really do want to know, do you have highest and best offers, or do you have escalation clauses? Let me explain the difference of the two. We just had a house on the market. It was $750,000. I thought it would go for $765,000. We had 4 or 5 contracts come in. One came in, they came in with escalation clauses, and they said $755,000. Then one came in with an escalation clause, $755,000 with a $2,000 escalation. Now, escalation means that they can say, I'll give you $2,000 more than the other highest contract. So you would get the highest contract plus $2,000. That's using the escalation clause. So everybody comes in a little low, says, I'll bump it $2,000 to a certain amount of money. Well, we do highest and best offer. And highest and best offer means there are no escalation clauses. You got to just pick a number. Give me your highest number. So the email came in, I'll give you $755, escalation clause $2,000 up to whatever. And I emailed him back, and the email string is clear. No escalation clause, highest and best offer Monday by 5 o'clock. Lo and behold, he got back to me within a half hour. $790,000. No contingencies, no appraisal, no home inspection, all cash. So that's the difference between an agent that works with highest and best offers and an agent that works with escalation clause. The agent works with escalation clause would have had $757,000 for that seller and would have had to go through a home inspection and an appraisal, which who knows. So the highest and best, if you do it that way, then they pick a number, their highest number, and that's it. And they're bidding blind against everybody else. And that's what generates the highest number. So when we're interviewing agents to work with your mom or dad or somebody outside of the area, somebody that we can't handle, we will make sure that they are highest and best offer agents. And if they're not, that's the way they're going to handle it, okay? That's just the way we do it. I'm also going to talk to them about their pricing strategy. If they say we put it a little high with a little wiggle room, we got the wrong agent. That's a 1989 agent. That's not a 2017 agent. 2017 agents are pretty damn smart. They know how to market, they know how to price, and they know how to get properties moving. For example, in this area, our days on market, 17 days. People that I go in, and a lot of times they'll call me in and they'll call another big agents in my market area. The other agents, average days on market, 135 days on the market. Ours is 17. Now, if your best contract's coming in a 30-day time period, who do you want to work with? One of the agents is 218 days, is the average days on market. So, you know, and they have more listings than anybody, to be honest with you. So, you know, you have to look at that, and when we interview, it's like, what's your days on market? Well, 335. I got the wrong person. Because even if you're in a market that's a little bit slower, doesn't matter. There is a price for the house. You shouldn't wait 135 days. So I want to know what's your days on market. I want to know how many of your houses withdrew. The closest person to me in volume in the listings right now, maybe I've got 57 and they've got 42. But they've got 29 million that have withdrawn, and we have 4. So $29 million worth of real estate failed to sell. So that's also a big number I want to focus on. How many of your homes withdrew and how many of them sold? If you're an agent that throws a ton on and whatever sells, sells, you're not the person for us. So we want to be real careful with who we pass on to mom, dad, friends, family, people outside of the area. Or if you are leaving our area and going somewhere else, you need to be in touch with the right person that's a buying agent. We can help you with that too. Okay? So hopefully that helps you this morning with how to sell in a slow market, how to buy in a slow market, how to operate as a realtor, as a seller, as a buyer. Hopefully that gives you tips to negotiate better contracts. Don't forget that there are 5 or 6 different of these search engines, so you can pull out the number that best suits whatever contract you're going to present, and in lieu of that, have a very professional agent or team that knows how to price houses. Okay? Anything else, Julie? We cool? Did I clear off my list? To Leslie McCrae, who does this for us, and by the way, I will add that you know, Leslie came to the company months ago and has increased our status on social media. She is an absolute expert, and your associate that works with you, Mac what? Castles. Mac Castles. So, you know, Samson Properties, we now have 1,600 agents in the company. Danny's done an incredible job. We just had a massive fall festival at, was it the Plains? Great Meadow, at Great Meadow. And Danny had bands all over the place, and he had, geez, the moon bounce strip looked like, you know, a group of houses out there, you know. It was really phenomenal. So I'll say this, if you are a real estate agent, you're listening to all of this, you really need to talk to Danny. You need to look into what's going on over here. You know, the social media help Leslie and Mac are starting to, help all these agents with is really powerful, and Danny's model is very powerful. So it's a great family atmosphere. If you're thinking about it, we have agents coming over every month. I think, I don't know, 32 agents in like 2 weeks are coming over at a time. So I would take some time, come over, meet with Danny, and talk to him. It is a very nice setup. So thank you for attending this morning. Hopefully we'll publish this online, where we'll set it up in the Samson, whatever you call it, your dashboard, where you can take a look at this and helps everybody. I will give a shout out to the dogs. Now I'm going to tell you one thing. Look, our team, we're dog lovers. We all have, dogs that we picked up from the shelters around. Great dogs, love them. Big supporters of adopting dogs. Getting these, and of course, I guess the hurricanes have brought more dogs into the area, which is even more powerful. But we actually have some celebrity dogs. What is it? Izzy the Chow, pretty dang funny. And who's the and Navy, yeah, celebrity dogs that show up. But I'll tell you what we are going to do. We are going to, when there are festivals like Viva Vienna and things like that, we are going to pay for a booth for these places. Like, what is the shelters that we're working with? Lucky Dog Animal Rescue. We will pay for them so they have their own thing, so they can bring dogs out and hopefully introduce the dogs to people and maybe get some more adoptions going. And Julie and Michelle pulled off a kissing booth with We the Dogs at the festival, and it was hilarious. Some of the pictures of these dogs out there were really phenomenal. So, yeah. So look for those on, are you going to put on the Casey Samson Team Facebook website? Yeah. Okay. Good, good. They are great. And the tie-in here is, we find people homes all the time, and that's what we do. So it's not hard for us to take our technological savvy, and Julie and Michelle are wonderful at this. They're very professional. And a lot of the shelters are very caring, nurturing people trying to help these dogs, but may not have the savvy and social media skills of a Leslie or a Michelle or a Julie. So we're going to use our assets to try and help them place some of these dogs and get them in great homes, because we all have them and we all love them, and we want to help others get theirs. Okay? So this is Casey Samson signing off. If you need me, I'm at 703-508-2535, or you can catch me at casey@caseysamson.com. You want to go to our website and pick up any information on our team, caseysamson.com. We'll see you next time.